7 p.m. Time for the council meeting. Can I get a call order and roll call, please?
Bauer.
Being added.
Elwick.
Here.
Gates. Here. Vicinius.
Yep.
Stark. Here. Fluhop is absent.
All right, the same pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda is written. Bethany, second by Ron. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion to approve the consent agenda is written.
Second.
Motion by Bethany, second by Andrew. Any questions?
Matt, I have a question. I know you're surprised. Social media assistants for CAR, are we paying them to do social media stuff now for parks, or what's that for?
Yeah, we're doing a wellness campaign with social media posts, and so they're doing some of that for just a limited time. So we're gonna run that through the end of the year, and then we'll be finished with that campaign with them.
Who runs your social media generally?
Generally, it's us as staff, and so we were kind of looking for a more pointed, directed kind of campaign, if you will, I guess, that had a more succinct look to it than just our typical posts that we throw in here and there. So we're going to do it for a couple months, see how it worked, and see what kind of traction we got, and then reevaluate it. And so I'm in that reevaluation process of it right now.
So they're like designing all the graphics and coming up with all the copy and everything.
Yep.
And all that.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit along the same lines as what the school does with them. They manage the school's social media posts and things like that. So they came out and shot drone footage for us at the cornhole tournament over the weekend, and just help us produce social media content and stuff like that. So trying to drum up more interest as we're making a push for wellness center and stuff like that. So.
What's the refund due to daughter? Just out of curiosity. From the skate center.
I don't know.
Oh, I think, it was someone had rented the skate center and their daughter had injured themselves, I think.
Oh.
And then
Yeah,
canceled
yeah,
their reservation.
Very thorough description.
Right? Yeah, some hold on it. Sure.
Yeah, I do recall that one now.
Who's the Hilton Hotel?
That'd be me.
No. Okay.
No, that would be, I went to ICMA annual conference in Columbus, Ohio.
So Craig, the mixer repairs?
Yeah, that was that flight mixer, the ice froze up on it, and when we decanting, or when it was filling, it pulled all the wiring and all that out of the head of it, so.
Not the one we just put in.
Yeah, we put it in 2 or 3 times. We finally got it back, and our own back and running.
All right, anybody got any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now it's time to receive and file communication petitions for remonstrances. Anybody? All right, moving on to committee reports.
You're up, Andrew?
Public Works had a meeting at 6, discussing possible sewer extension on B Avenue from 13th to 14th, and we're gonna inch sewer extension would be going up the avenue up to 14th. So that maybe next year we can look at doing that.
Any questions for Andrew?
At 6:30, Business Type Activities Committee met, to go over the RFPs that we're gonna put out for sanitation collection, so we can have our ducks in a row and ready to go on July 1st next year. We're gonna use the current RFP that we have, we're just gonna tweak it a little bit to include, a possible alternate bid with option for weekly recycle, include any potential, surcharge possibilities in their proposal, and include any quantity, any can quantity options in their proposal, if there's more than one. So, not too much to change. And we're gonna have that done and sent out in January, so everybody can have their bids back to us, hopefully first week in, have them out in December, back in January, so we're good to go. Melissa thinks that's totally doable.
Yeah, it is totally.
Okay, if you guys say so, that's good.
Alrighty. Moving on to, moving on to citizen input. Council won't take any action on public comments this meeting, but may do so at a future meeting. Please limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Anybody? Who you are, where you live?
Thank you for this opportunity. Bruce Gardner, Garrison, Iowa. Just a quick update. On Tuesday, I met with the State Director of USDA Rural Development about the property that we discussed. And she was encouraged and has connected me with Director of the Iowa Area Development Group. We're going to be meeting in the middle of next month to see what we can proceed with. So I thought I'd just give you a quick update on that. Also, there's been new issues come to light, which I'm gonna need some assistance on from one of the council members, but I think that it looks like a positive movement on that part too. Thank you.
Good. Anybody out there, anybody else?
Anybody else?
Yeah, are you not on the meeting, huh?
9G.
You're on 9G.
Okay,
You get to enjoy us for quite a while.
does the shoes fit on those, or?
Or do you have anything else you want to say other than that? You're more than welcome.
I'm being facetious, I'll talk to her a little bit.
Good language. I like facetious. So,
Keep me out of trouble off the street down the pool halls that way.
I do a lot of facetious comments. So, good enough. And moving on to old business, item A.
Mr. Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just
Oh.
in case for Zoom, if anybody out on Zoom wishes to address the council, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And so far,
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Moving on, old business. I need a motion for first consideration ordinance 1076, an ordinance amending the official zoning district map of the city. And that would be for property. Motion by Badney, second by Tammy. Hold on there. So I'll ask you to talk, you don't have to. So I did ask you, Sal. Just don't actually leave you stop or not. So after the last meeting, I said I was gonna get a hold of the attorney and have him send something out. He did so. I have to ask the council here though, that was designated as client attorney privilege, which is, but I reviewed it and I didn't think there's anything in there that we couldn't share with everybody. But in order for us to do that, I need to have everybody's blessing that we can do so. By a verbal yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so that letter can be shared. You got a copy of it yet?
No, I haven't seen it, so.
anybody else wants a copy, I think we've got another one here somewhere.
We all have it.
Okay. So anyhow, so part of the letter that he stated, and you guys jump in whenever you want. As I was going through it, there was a lot of words about comprehensive plan, making sure we're checking with that, and everybody's doing so. I have come to light that most of the new council members didn't even know we had a comprehensive plan. So today I had Melissa email that comprehensive plan, and I Dakota, you're not gonna like it when I say this, until they have a chance to review that and how it applies to what he said, I don't know if I can continue the conversation.
I prepared highlighted excerpts of it. They're on
Perfect.
flash drive, so I can have Chrissy to pull it up. I didn't know if any of you guys had computers, but I've got 7 of them with everything that's in this stack that pertains to mine. And the comprehensive plan is on there. I went through and sub-briefed it basically, highlighted some areas I want to talk about, which pertain to what I'm asking for. Obviously, there's other things in here as far as with economic development and parks and stuff like that that don't pertain to my project. So it is a 100-page document. It's actually not that hard to read. I thought it'd be harder to read than what it is, but it's very easily read and understood for that matter. But I did prepare all that stuff as far as what I have here as well.
That's fine. You guys want to look at it, but I do want these people to review it on their own and have their own opinion of what it says, and I don't want it to be
So who
influenced
here
by it.
doesn't have like the count? Because I know there was.
It all got emailed out to them today.
Okay.
Everyone.
And did anybody have time to review it or?
It didn't go out till what, like 1? I don't remember what time I had just sent it out.
Before lunch.
Was it before lunch? But I did.
Yeah,
One
so
of them's.
I got it, but Riley had a death in the family today, so
Yep.
she probably hasn't read it, and Valerie's sick, so I don't know if they've read it. But I did get a copy. I asked Melissa for one Tuesday, so that was good. And I read it, and in conjunction with Doug's letter, I feel like sending this to P&Z is helpful because their definition of spot zoning is very different than what you came up with. Yours is right, obviously.
Yeah, because we were going through the letter, I don't know, you guys say it basically came, spot zoning may not be illegal. That's what it says. But there are 3 objects that have to be met, is that right?
There's the Supreme Court's come up with a 3-part test, correct? So in the event, and the prime example that I pointed to is a more recent case with the Field of Dreams in Dyersville, where the Supreme Court's got appealed to the Supreme Court, and they said, well, this is spot zoning, however, if we look at it under this 3-part test, it can be permitted. So this is a lot different than the Field of Dreams, but it's the same.
It's his Field of Dreams.
Maybe so. It's the same test, though.
So,
Yep, and I think the other parts are you apply that test, and the other things the court have made clear is that they call it the police power. The city has certain police powers, and it doesn't mean like carrying a gun and charging people with crimes, but just policing the community. You have broad discretion in the exercise of those police powers. So when considering these 3 provisions, and they're explained a little bit more in here, but whether the new zoning is germane to an object within the police power, whether there's a reasonable basis for making a distinction between the spot zoned land and the surrounding property, and whether the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Obviously, you folks are the elected officials. You have the right to kind of use your best judgment in analyzing that, and generally speaking, whatever you decide, so long as you give it due consideration, it's real hard for anybody to ever overturn that, because that's part of your role as a city council.
The planning and zoning members, have they read the comprehensive plan? Like, are they kind of where I was? I didn't know it existed.
well, most of them
No,
probably have.
They have read it. They have.
I don't know if all of them have, but
Sure.
like I said, I gotta make sure they have this documentation with your email and be able to put the 2 together and see what they tell us.
Yeah.
That's the only fair way I see doing it, Dakota. I mean,
Yeah, so I'll comment, it will fall on deaf ears, I'm just telling you, so I've been there twice, I was the only person they said that ever came back twice. And as much as I was able to flip the opinion of one individual and others made comments about the validity of it, you're talking about people that have ingrained this idea of spot zoning in their mind for so long, and that's what they voted on. I don't blame them for voting no for the project, they voted for what they believe. I presented all this material to them as well, and they essentially said, well, that's not how I define it, and I'm the one that votes on it. to paraphrase
But we're
it,
not
so.
going to send it back to plan, so.
Well, we don't have to, but if we can't define these 3 benchmarks, which I bet they're not aware of,
Right, they think.
that's what
any-
I'm concerned about. They don't know about these things to determine it.
When they were here, they said any spot zoning is illegal, so I think
Yes.
that Doug's letter might help them out, because they thought all of it was illegal.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. They just said, it's spot zone, but as long as it meets one of these 3s, or all of these 3, or something, it has to meet at least one of them, right?
Yes,
I don't think it has to meet all.
I don't think it has to meet all of them. Does it have to meet all, Doug?
No, those 3 factors all have to be considered and weighed.
It ultimately, it comes down to the city. The city is the judge, jury, executioner on this matter when it comes to zoning.
But when they were here too with you last time, I did say we would get you the information from the attorney, and I gotta give it to him. It's kind of the name of my word, so.
I just wanna mention in the context of the meeting, like our comprehensive plan says that we will, review the zoning ordinance annually. That we'll have a meeting with planning and zoning annually to go over things, and I've been here a year and a half and we haven't done that. I know this was put together a long time ago, but we're not following our comprehensive plan, which does include, like, it says in there, we will encourage diversity in types of housing available, that's on page 48, support rehabilitation of existing houses, and then it says, you know, that specific issues the city should address should include housing diversity options. So we're not really following this, so I would like to see us, I mean, I know we're already talking about a planning session, but we're not doing a very good job of following this, so.
I think we're doing
Like,
better than
see
what you
that
might
change.
think. So, there's a lot of things in there that we
I'm
have.
having a real hard time hearing the council members.
Sorry.
You hear that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just,
Because, yeah, I'm with Bethany. I don't think we're following the comprehensive plan very well if we're not working with him.
We're doing some things, but we're not doing a lot of them.
One thing that came to my mind was, okay, so rezoning this to the R3 designation allows for multiple family housing all the way up to, it's unlimited, is it not?
Well, you still have to meet requirements of that housing. If I have a 3-unit complex, I have to have adequate parking for all 3 units. It's 2 cars a piece, or 2 vehicles, I should say. It's 180 square feet, so 10 by 18 is what it is. And it has to be off-street. And if it's R3, it's limited as far as where you can put it, because there's offsets when it comes to streets or to sidewalks and stuff like that. So I've been told by planning and zoning that because I touch commercial, that if I wanted to invest the money and time downstairs in the basement and turn that into a commercial space, they would grant my request. Commercial is extremely lenient. I can build 2 lot lines, I can utilize every inch of property, I can park cars in the front yard, and it would disturb the neighborhood in a way. I wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying the ability to do that is there. So
The only reason I brought it up was,
yeah, you still have to meet the
Yeah,
requirements.
yeah,
If you have
I
a
mean,
5-plex,
if
it's still gotta be sprinklered, it still has to have parking for 10 vehicles. If
we
you don't
are
have a
setting
lot,
ourselves up,
yeah,
I mean, this duplex is one thing, 3, 4, 5 units is a whole nother. You got big houses in that area that if you had enough off-street parking, I assume you could end up with a 4-plex relatively easy, I would think. If someone decided that they wanna buy one of those big old houses and.
theoretically, and that's part of the part of the problem and the reason that we're here. So if an outside, I mean, we're talking about old houses here. Okay, we're talking about houses that well over 100 years old. We're talking about people haven't built these houses in 50 years. So if somebody wants to come in off the street and invest, and it's clear based off of the data that I provided, more stuff that I found, that the city of Vinton is in need of housing, they're in need of rentals. That's been shown in several studies that if somebody wants to come off the street and invest their money and turn this in, and it meets certain requirements, I don't understand why that would be a bad thing for the city. So yes, the question is, if I do this, can somebody come in with a big 2-story house that has a huge lot and turn it into a 5-plex? Yeah, they still have to get the permits, they still have to meet all the requirements as far as setbacks go. They have to have off-street parking, so it's not a guarantee that every single R1 house out there can just be chopped up and turned into R3.
But
You still have requirements, and at the end of the day, this particular property, and I did all this research prior to purchasing it, it's different than every other property, cause it abuts up to a commercial lot, and it is also a block away from R3, so I mean, if you're, the city's given broad flexibility when it comes to zoning. The comprehensive plan is there to guide the city, and the city, when they adopt it, is said to follow that comprehensive plan. So if it meets the comprehensive plan, and it's a case of spot zoning, there is no challenge. At the end of the day, if it meets the criteria and it helps the city of Vinton, and we're talking about a bigger picture here, if somebody else comes in and wants to do the very similar thing, I would hope the outcome would be the same, because at the end of the day, we're all Vinton residents. We all want to see the town succeed, and you're not going to succeed without rental units. I don't know of a rental in town that is available. I really don't. And, you know,
The reason I brought it up was just because, you know, you talked to your neighbors and everybody was fine with this. I don't know if everybody, think of yourselves, having a fourplex in your neighborhood sometimes.
But they have to sign off on what you're doing too. So I mean, I've explained to people what I intended on doing. I intend on taking this house and turning it into a duplex. If you come to me and you live in my neighborhood and you're like, hey, Dakota, I wanna turn this big house into a sixplex and I'm gonna have 14 different cars here, right? At that point, I'm probably not gonna sign off on you. There's still steps that it takes to get to this
We still
point.
have to sign off if we change this to R3, which then
Anybody can come in and do anything.
can do that.
Correct.
That's where I'm a little hesitant, you know, once I start thinking about that.
I'm a little hesitant in the precedent that it sets.
Yes.
Just in general.
What would be the issue?
We can go to any other neighborhood and say, well, I wanna turn that big old house into a duplex too, as long as I can get my neighbors to sign off on
I
it.
get that, but is that property abut next to a block of commercial
Yeah,
property that's a
we're
block away
just-
from R3? So there's individual characteristics of each project. And if you look at literally the definition from the Iowa State University, which Chris pulled up in planning and zoning, he's the one that read it. It says that there's properties that have peculiar interest to be developed in different ways. Like you can read it, I have it in this document, I can show you. It's the definition that we told planning and zoning. This particular house lends itself to be a duplex. It is going to be in the city's best interest to have this be a duplex. It is,
And also in your best interest.
of course it is, but if it's in my best interest, why would I not do it if it's in my best interest?
I'm not
Why
saying
would
you
I
shouldn't.
invest money if it's not in my best interest? If it's in my best interest, and I'm gonna raise the property value and I'm gonna benefit from this, the city's also gonna benefit, because they're going to get higher property taxes. They're gonna provide a residence. You get somebody in here that has a job, you provide, you know, you have taxes when it comes to that. And you're bringing the value of the neighborhood up. You take a house that's sold in the hottest market, no demand, for below assessed value, and you bring it above that. So it's gonna help everybody's property value in the neighborhood. That's why they signed off on it, which, that's a key factor when we
There's
talk
a
about that.
fourplex now for me that's not increasing the property value of my neighborhood. I can guarantee you that. That's what I'm a little hesitant about. Yes, in your circumstance, this thing
And it has
doesn't
to be,
sound
it has
too
to be a
bad.
case by case basis. You can't,
But this is really gonna, if we okay this is really gonna set up.
and if you decline it, you also say that I'm not willing to make any bends or moves in the future, that this, what we have right now is what we have. We're not going to adapt and we're not going to change. So that, yes, it is a case by case basis, and you have to look at each individual reason. If somebody wants to build a humongous shop, in the middle of an R1 district, like, that's absurd. Like, of course, you can use reason, you can use logic. There's a ton of factors that make this a good project. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff. If
This
there
particular
wasn't
one,
stuff.
I agree.
And that's what I'm asking is on this particular one, because spot zoning is a case by case basis. It's not a general policy that we're gonna spot zone every property in the city of Vinton. Someone still has to come to you. They still have to provide you. I doubt that anybody's gonna provide you the knowledge and the amount of research that I've done in this as far as the validity of it. They have to prove their case. You can't just come in and ask, you know, for a residential house to be zoned R3. You can ask for it, but it doesn't have to be granted. I'm not asking about in the future. I'm talking about my particular issue.
Don't know the answer to this question. If we okay this, we still are able to, down the road, another person in his circumstance, we can say no to down the road.
But see, that's gonna fall onto Blake, I think. So if they come down, they wanna switch it out of a duplex into anything else other than duplex, you're gonna have to get a building permit. And we can have that building permit denied. That's your only avenue of stopping somebody from changing it.
What's our reason for denying it?
We think it's a germane, we have police powers to do that. If I think it's gonna start affecting neighborhood and traffic flow and more cars and we don't have it to do it, you know, that's what that policing power means.
Well, because I mean, I think what was laid out in Doug's letter, I think that gives us the authority to not assume that the next person who comes in and asks for this gets it, because that does seem to give us pretty broad powers.
That's for a different house, let's say.
But
This one goes to
spot
R3.
zoning as a policy is not in line with the comprehensive plan. It
I get
is
that.
not. So when we're talking about a once, so you can always fall back on the, okay, this is a valid project, these are the arguments that are made. If somebody wants to say, how is this different than mine? Let's find it. If it's not different than somebody else's, then I don't understand why it would have to be defined. If somebody came in with the same exact information, the same exact lot, the same exact setup, and the same location, and mine was approved, why wouldn't the second one be approved? We're talking about a process that's arbitrary. That's like, okay, you know, every single person's gonna come in here that wants to rezone from R1 to R3. I'm gonna allow it. That the city does not have to do that, and the city also has the power to grant the individual spot zones. And like you said, ultimately, from everything that I've found, I'm sure Doug will confer. When the city makes a zoning change, it is rarely. It can rarely be challenged in court because there's so much factors that go into it that the city ultimately has the policing power. Has zoning been overturned in the past? Yeah, but I have a huge document that states all the cases of times that it hasn't. So we're talking about an individual issue, and it may be an issue for the future because this could come up, right? If somebody has a legitimate project to propose and it meets all the setbacks and they can meet the building requirements and they can do all that stuff, at the end of the day, my thought process is, let them do it. It's good for the city of Vinton, it's private sector money, we're not applying for grants here. And the more housing you have, we don't have a surplus of housing right now. We don't. If somebody wants to move into town, I have no idea where they're gonna live. Like, if they don't buy a property, interest rates are at historic highs, most people can't afford to buy a home right now. So, there's other factors here, and so we can talk about my individual property, but it's not setting a precedent to say that every single person on every single lot wants to be zoned R1. One thing I will say is, it's been thrown out that this historical district, which has been in place for 50-ish years, this house is not in a historical district, so I have maps of it. It doesn't pertain to this particular property, so it's on the fringe, but it's not in the actual mapped area. It's not designated in that document that they did back in 2012. So the historical side of it, that's invalid. So
What about the state historical? It is in the state historical.
the state historical.
There are two different
Apparently
districts.
districts.
Does anybody know about the historical districts?
Yeah, there's a plaque right there behind Mayor.
I get that. And we're talking about the Vinton Residential Historic District is what we're talking about, correct? Was the National Register for Historical Places, is he talking about this national one as well?
No, that's a separate one from the state, which is a one with SHPO, state historical.
But I'm not even familiar with it anyways. It say that you can't
It
do
hasn't
this
been
if
enforced for 50 years, I don't know why we would enforce it.
Yeah.
So,
If somebody's put vinyl siding
They would put
on
vinyl
it,
siding.
if
They had a
it
district
doesn't
like-
look historical anymore.
they had a district like this in Waverly and they upheld it
Non-contributing, I
extremely
think is
well,
the word.
so.
I'm just saying out loud, that was my concern, and still is my concern.
Yeah, and I don't think what I'm asking for is gonna be, it's not a blanket, can you say it sets a precedent? It sets the precedent that the city is, willing to listen to private investors, willing to listen to good projects, but it's not saying that every single person that wants to come in here and do this is gonna be granted this.
No, but that's not, but we grant yours to R3, right?
And mine's more restrictive, R3 is more restrictive than
But
commercial.
R3 makes it multifamily.
Yep.
We give you R3, tomorrow you sell it, the guy comes in, I'm gonna put a fourplex in it.
The property still has to meet the setbacks. Can somebody bulldoze my property and put a fourplex on there? Yeah, they could, no one's going to, I mean,
That's what we don't know.
but if it meets the requirements, why would that be a concern? You still have to grant a building permit, if somebody's
But
gonna
that's what I mean,
bulldoze.
that's why I stated, that would be the only way we could deny it, is deny the building permit to make any modifications to it. And they're gonna come back and say, well, it's a zone 3, what's your argument for saying we can't?
That's exactly right.
Because then we'd have to go back and Blake would have to look at it, is it a safety for the kids if we put 2 more apartments on there, or now too much traffic in
But
there?
it's also in the city's power to de-zone that property as well. So the city can also de-zone a property if they think it's gonna be a problem from R3 to R1 in the future. That's at the city's discretion, that's what it is. So we can't talk about what's gonna happen in 20 years. What
I
I'm
don't know
saying
what's
is,
gonna happen tomorrow. That's the whole thing. We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, 10 years, whatever, so.
Well, it's, like we said,
Can I add a few comments?
I'll add it.
After, say just a couple of things. One, you know, when you come to rezoning, the first step is the planning and zoning board. And they should look at the comp plan, give it consideration. Guarantee you, sometimes you look at the comp plan and you're not sure if it gives you any direction. You know, it may not answer anything, but you need to look at it, and there should be a record that you looked at it. The statement that, and I saw this in the minutes maybe, that the P&Z said we'd be okay with commercial. You really don't abut commercial, there's a commercial across the street. I'm not sure that that would be an appropriate use of that property either. I don't know that I'd agree with their
well, I don't think
stance.
they were saying that they would okay it.
no, they absolutely said go and do a new application and bring it back as commercial.
That seems to me to be an inappropriate zoning for that use, but, zoning, with conditions. The code allows you, and I'm not suggesting you do this, and you could rezone this to R3. You know, sometimes neighborhoods, new neighborhoods have covenants. This is an older neighborhood, no covenants like that, so it's just subject to city code, but you can rezone it with a condition. You can say, we will rezone this to R3 with the condition that it never be more than a duplex. And that can travel with that property, it's in the abstract, it's part of the rezoning set of documents that would follow that property forever. So if he did sell it, somebody couldn't turn it into a 3-plex, 4-plex down the road.
And I'm in love with that idea.
So that's an option. I'm not saying it's, so that's just something to think about. When we're talking about your powers with zoning, I would say this, denials of zoning changes, if you go through this process, say this is spot zoning, we don't see enough standards in place to justify the spot zoning, and you turn it down, very hard to overturn. If you approve something that's spot zoning, you really need to have a good record that you went through the right process, because if you get anybody who's upset about it, it's more likely you're gonna get overturned by granting a spot zoning than by denying one. But it's quite a process. I mean, somebody's gotta be mad enough to potentially get a lawyer, file what's called a writ of certiorari at the district court to show that the city acted illegally, and there's a lot of hoops. But it is more likely that you'd be overturned by granting a spot zoning than denying one. When you think about, and I, did Chris's job for 15 years, when neighbors go to neighbors and they want a signature, most neighbors are gonna sign, because they wanna get along with their neighbors. So when you think about the change of the use of this property, my advice to you is you can't just think, what do the neighbors say today? You gotta think long-term, what's that do to the neighborhood, what are the people, how do they really feel about it? What's the long-term impact possibly on the neighborhood? I'm not making a judgment on that, just, I think that's important to think about. Whether it sets precedent or not, the next guy who wants to make a change is gonna say it didn't. That's the other rule of thumb. It's like, you go to somebody's house, you need a new sidewalk. Well, why doesn't he need a new sidewalk and he need a new sidewalk? Everybody's gonna look at this and say I should get treated the same way. So again, if you would grant relief here, you'd want the record to be very, very clear as to why. So when that next one comes forward, you can, if you're gonna tell the next person no, you can be pretty clear why this one was different. Yeah, last thing I guess I would say, and if I had been this gentleman's attorney when he was gonna buy this house, I'd have said buy it contingent on the city changing the zoning. Because he's buying it knowing what the zoning is, right? And any attorney opinion is gonna tell you, either it's gonna tell you what the abstract says about zoning, or it's gonna say you might wanna go to the city and find out about zoning, because that's gonna restrict your ability to use this property. And if you wanna turn it into something that's not allowed, offer to buy it, make it contingent on the city giving you what you want. And no offense, that's just, would be good advice.
Yeah.
And I'm not judging his request, I'm just saying typically that would be the way to handle that. Last thing I'll say, whether it happen, sometime you have to have a public hearing before you can fully approve a zoning change. In my experience, that's typically kind of the first thing you do. Somebody goes, not the first, goes P&Z, they come to you with a recommendation for or against, the council then passes a resolution scheduling the public hearing. Then you hold the public hearing and close the public hearing, have your first reading. The the way the Iowa code reads, though, you don't have to have the public hearing first, but it's just kind of one of those things, why not get the public input before you consider your first reading? Just makes sense. So you could always consider the first reading and then set the public hearing, but any change is not effective or legal, if you will, until after a public hearing. Any questions on any of that?
No, thank you.
Supreme Court rule number 1, whether the new zoning is remain to object within the police tower. I don't see any problem, I think we meet that. First one checked off. Whether there is a reasonable basis for making a distinction between the spot zone land and the surrounding property. No real basis for having to define that, so we kind of meet that one, right? And whether the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, number 3, that's the big one. And we all know what that does.
Those last two are kind of related if you look at the, this Jaffe versus Davenport case where it said piecemeal or haphazard zoning of a tract of land similar in character and use to the surrounding property for the benefit of the owner and not pursuant to a comprehensive plan for the general welfare of the community has been determined to be arbitrary, unreasonable, and invalid. So when looking at those comp plan and the second element there, I think you'll need to look at I think there's suggestions that the comp plan would suggest you need more housing, blah, 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 blah. So I think you need to consider if you make a decision to move forward with the zoning change, you want to tie it to the general welfare of the community. Not just because the Shellman wants it.
But I think it is, I think it's in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
And that's
right, and that gets you to the comp plan, and is there any guidance there, and if there isn't, I think still then, in any decision you make, that would be a reason to differentiate this property maybe from one down the road. What are the reasons that this is beneficial to the general welfare of the community where another one might not be? Yeah. So.
And if everything is going to come, there's gonna be, we'd have a tough time turning this down for a lot of R1 residents in town.
It says that the comp plan is not a policy. It is a guideline to follow for making good
But,
decisions.
And we've got a long list of neighbors, I mean, we have a public hearing, if the neighbors really don't want it, they can come tell us,
But
because we've got a huge list that's
Yeah,
signed
and-
up on it.
If we can't, my opinion is if we can't put it with that condition that you can never change it past a duplex, then
I'm completely fine with that, because
I
it's
won't
never
put it
going to be changed.
I won't ever put it on the table.
Going forward, it's only gonna take someone with a R1 residence in town, okay, the neighbors, okay, to get this passed, because there's not a lot of difference here.
So let's go find out, if somebody came into my neighborhood and they wanted to put a duplex in, I would ask the council to look at.
That's our
what-
job, Andrew, I think that's our job, to take it, yes, we don't, I mean, if they come to us, they come to us, it's our job to differentiate with the
But how are you gonna
assistance of planning
How are
and
you gonna do
zoning.
that? I mean,
That's your police.
But I mean, I'm
Let's say, is
not
that
willing to
duplex? You're on
just
the
tell
route to
everybody,
school.
no, this isn't gonna happen, isn't,
Right,
But
right,
what's your reason for it not happening?
well, that's, she's saying, we don't
I'm
want
saying,
to
I'm
say
not
no
willing to
everybody.
right now say
Yeah.
for the future, no, we're not doing this,
Mhm.
because
Our goal
somebody
is
in the
to-
future might do something stupid.
My point is, like you're saying, yes, the police thing will work if we wanna do that.
I agree.
It would. I don't see anything else working.
That's the only thing you'll have.
Yeah.
Because
That's the only one I have.
comprehensive plan's gonna go up to it.
They were gonna say it's a perfect spot because of this and this. And we're gonna have to go, yeah, we agree, but it's not the.
You're too close to the kids walking to school, and I don't think the additional traffic is going to be.
Not every neighborhood is gonna be okay with it, too.
I don't see a
Someone
big
comes and
influx of
asks
people
me,
coming
I'm-
running in here that wanna go switch to
Still,
R3.
it still takes a lot of money, and it
You
still
come
takes a
back
lot
in
of
a
time.
year with another one, I'm gonna deny
rental
it.
property in town that's in
I'll
R1.
tell you that right now.
There's a lot of rental property in town in R1, that if you can double your income on that property, yeah, they're probably gonna try to do that.
Not all
I don't know how many
homeowners
single
are-
family homes you can really, this house in particular, because we're talking about this house, we're not talking about everybody else in town. It's set up literally perfect, it was a house that was built in the 1900s, and they added an addition in the 80s or 90s, whatever it was. And it's got its own, essentially, it's got its own everything, it's got its own air conditioner, it's got its own, the only thing it needs is a water heater,
If you're
so.
doubling the income on a property, I assume there's gonna be.
But if it's for the betterment of the city, why is it a bad plan for somebody to come in and do that? If the neighbors agree with it, it's good for the city, it provides a need, why is it bad?
I'm good with the council has police power and we don't have to tell everyone yes from here on out. I'm also good with being able to rezone with that designation that it does not become anything further than.
And I like that,
duplex.
I do like.
I think that's
Yes,
really
this
helpful piece
particular
of
house,
information to
that's
know.
it.
If one comes to you in the future and you're worried that somebody's gonna take, and this is a small lot, but let's say it is a big lot and somebody wants to bulldoze it and put, 5 condos on it, make a restriction of what they wanna do right then and there. If they're not willing to sign off on it, they obviously have different ulterior motives with it.
But that would be one of those things that, we know that's not going to be, it's going to be detriment to the neighborhood.
Agreed with you.
Right.
If I may ask one question.
Just
Just
one.
one. Then why not zone this as R2?
Because there's only one R2 district, it's right smack dab in the middle of downtown, and in my opinion, it was randomly changed. There's only one R2 district in the entire city of Vinton. So you can zone it R2, that's fine, my request is for R3. If you do R3 with a stipulation that it has to remain a duplex, it's the same thing. But it's consistent with the existing zoning map, because there is R3 next to R1. There is one R2 in the entire city of Vinton, and it is downtown. That is it.
I thought on the zoning map R3 made more sense.
It's a block away from R3, and the only thing in between is a single commercial.
A lot of times you think of zoning, if you have a big R1 area and you're working towards commercial, usually like step downs, R1, maybe a little R2, then a little R3, then a little light commercial, and work your way over to industrial.
And if you look at our map, it lays out that way in general. There's some messy spots, but
Yeah,
in general,
for sure.
it's like that.
The motion is to amend it, but if we're gonna try and do it with, special zoning thing, then can't.
We need to rewritten again.
And just to clarify the language with regard to putting conditions on the rezoning, the applicant has to agree. So if the council, and it sounds like he's okay with that, so.
I'm on board, 100%.
Yeah.
I, Dakota Sellers,
Yeah.
agreed.
Give me a Bible, I will swear on
I
that.
just wanna hear, I, Dakota Sellers,
I, Dakota Sellers, agree.
thank you.
It needs to be agreed to in writing by the property
Oh,
owner
and in writing,
before the public hearing,
You got a pen?
okay? So,
Yeah.
anyway.
alright.
So we can't vote on this tonight because we have to have that in writing and we need to have it, we need
You
to
have to have that in
Well, we
writing
gotta redo
first,
the whole
and
thing.
then you set the date.
We'll have the
for
public hearing, then the first reading will be after that, and then we got 2 more readings after that, unless you guys.
And it's an ordinance change.
You have an ordinance related to zoning, and technically you have to have it in writing before the public hearing or before the adjournment of the hearing.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna have it before this meeting's over. Okay,
Do you want me to withdraw my motion?
that would be fantastic.
Are we done talking about
Are we done talking about this? And if you wanna put that flash drive, give it to Chris and they can load it up and share it with people, if you
Yeah,
like.
I have 7 of them.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I can't forget.
Mayor, you made some mention in procedurally, are you wanting this to go back to P and Z before it comes back to the council for any
Probably
reason?
not.
No.
I would like them to go see this.
I would like them to see the.
We wanna make sure they get all this, get a copy of the current comprehensive plan out to every member and let them take your.
I think it might help them just to.
I appreciate the email, by the way, it was very informative.
Very, very. Motion withdrawn.
Second, I withdraw my.
Alright, motion second withdrawn.
Is there any specifics, Doug, on what that letter needs to say, that I just agree as the owner?
If you wanna write something up and get it to Chris to get to me just to look at, it probably doesn't need to be too specific, no, just.
I'll email it to him tomorrow.
Alright. Moving on. We need a motion for second consideration of ordinance 1078, ordinance and adding a new chapter 124 food trucks. Motion by Bethany, second by Tammy. No changes from the first reading, I assume. Anybody got questions?
You guys are good with this?
I hope so. They're
So
good.
much has changed, I'm sure it's fine. A lot has changed, but if nothing's changed since the last reading,
We've
then,
taken more things out
yeah, that's
and gave
good.
you more.
Not for last reading.
No, not since the
No,
last
not
reading.
since last reading.
Same reading.
Since
Same
the
as,
first
We just have
initial
different
reading.
times.
Right, yeah, I got it, yep.
Yeah.
Any questions? Roll call.
Acenius,
Yep.
Elwick,
yes.
Beerbauer,
Yep.
Gates. Yes. Stark. Yes.
Alrighty. Now, moving on to item C, it's time for discussion of the fuel surcharge for J&R Sanitation. Sit up right up, tell us who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff.
I'm Jennifer Zrodnik, I'm an attorney down in Belle Plaine and represent J&R Sanitation. Back in June, J&R came to you guys in regards to a fuel surcharge. There's been a lot of discussion in regards to it. We put some numbers together. That's what's in this packet. Anybody else wants a copy of it? Over here.
Val, you sound bold.
So, since this contract was entered into in July of 2018, the price of fuel for operating the garbage trucks and the recycling trucks has more than doubled. Under the terms of the contract, the paragraph says that the caller has the right to may petition the city at any time, but not more frequently than annually, for an additional rate and price adjustment at reasonable times on the basis of unusual changes in its cost of operation. For such reasons as revised laws, ordinances, regulations, change in location disposal sites, and increase in the number of units, or for other reasons. Excluding increases in house counts, such rate adjustment shall be subject to the review and consent of the city, which shall not be unreasonably withheld. So what I've put together and given to you guys today is a packet full of information. Right now, based upon what you guys are billing the citizens, you guys are generating $77,054.20 a month in revenue for the 2,227 residences that J&R is being paid on. Currently, the rate that J&R Sanitation is receiving is $12.65 per household, which comes out to $28,171.55 per month. The annual per capita that is charged by the landfill to the city of Vinton based upon the number of residents, as in people in town, is $128,700 annually. That comes down to $10,725 a month. We did a request to the landfill commission for your tipping fee for the last fiscal year from July of 2021 through June of 2022. Your total tipping fees that the city paid to the Benton County landfill was $73,636.23 for an average of $6,136.35 per month. You guys also collect $2 per month for the compost / brush pile, and I attributed all of those $2 to the upkeep and maintenance on that brush pile. So you're bringing in $77,054.20, and you're spending approximately $49,486.90. You guys have a net revenue of $27,567.30. That does not include any of the landfill charges that you guys assign to businesses on their utility bills, because I didn't have access to those numbers and I didn't do a request to the city clerk. So what I've done is, if you flip to the third page of this document, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in July of 2018, the price of fuel was $3.71. The average price of diesel fuel in June of 2022, when we originally made the request, was $5.63.1. So we are requesting a fuel surcharge be added to this.
I know that there's been several suggestions in regards to how that calculation and how that formula is applied. We've done some research and found another option for, applying a fuel surcharge. Basically, it takes the difference in the fuel price, it divides that by 5 cents to get your multiplier, and you take that times the current inflation. So the first page on option 1 shows the fuel base price of $3.16, and it runs through what current inflation rates were for July, August, and September, what the fuel price was as published by the Energy Information Administration, what the difference is, and what the surcharge would look like on each of those months. If you go to the middle of the page, it shows the base rate of $12.65. If you applied the surcharge pursuant to the formula, it would make the new rate $17.60 for July, $16.51 for August, and $16.51 for September. If inflation were to drop back to 2%, that number would significantly decrease. So would the price of fuel, and if it ever got back down to $3.16, there would be no fuel surcharge. There are several companies that we have gone and found their fuel rate charges for, and a lot of them started at any diesel fuel over $1 or $1.50. So we're looking at $3.16, because that's what it was approximately when the contract originally started. If you look at option number 2, we did that based upon a $3.50 base charge. Would make your new rate in the middle of the page for July $16.86, in August $15.80, and September $15.81. And I also, in the very last box on both of those pages, computed for you what your current revenue is, what the difference is, and what your net revenue would be as compared to what you're currently taking in. So you guys would still be at a positive number without increasing your garbage charge to your residents. If you use the base rate of $3.16, you guys would have a net revenue in July of $16,543, in August $18,971, and in September of $18,971. If you use the base rate of $3.50, you guys would have a net revenue in July of $18,191, in August $20,552, and in September of it would be $20,529. So even by increasing or applying the fuel surcharge, due to the fact that basically any petroleum-based product has gone up, and we've also seen increases in inflation and everything else for parts and the ability to get parts, we're even starting to see shortages and stuff in lubricants and those types of things. Not only that, but all of the new equipment requires DEF fluid, and that's currently just under $5. And Josh tells me that they use about 60 gallons of DEF fluid a month, which is about $275 a month that goes towards that to keep the truck running and to meet all the energy emissions. And if you don't have the DEF in it, it doesn't run. So I've also given you an amendment to the garbage contract, leaving blanks in there in regards to what you guys want to use for the base rate and how we want to apply that formula. And then the last pages I've given you are the weekly diesel fuel price, starting in July of 18 through current. And I've also given you the monthly fuel price as provided by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Questions?
I do.
Go for it.
Perfect. So at the last meeting, we were talking about this going back and forth about fuel surcharge, and Josh commented that all the other cities that he does has agreed to the fuel surcharge. I checked. There's only one.
Okay.
Well, I want to know, how come we sat right here and lied to the entire city council that every other route that he does is paying the fuel surcharge?
I don't have any idea, because I wasn't at that meeting.
Well, he was. So it kind of makes me a little antsy here when somebody tells me that every other city has.
I know there's a lot more companies that are applying a fuel surcharge. I made a request here about 3 weeks ago, to get a new shredding company in. They quoted me $75, to come shred every 12 weeks. I said, okay, that sounds good. He sent me the contract, had a 20% fuel surcharge on it. I said, wait a minute. I said, you told me my bill was gonna be $75. I said, you didn't tell me anything about the fuel surcharge. You didn't mention the fuel surcharge. He goes, well, it's just standard. And I said, well, I understand that, but when you're quoting me the number, you need to make sure you tell me that it, we're gonna include a fuel surcharge on it. If you look at any of Waste Management's contracts, they're horrible. Waste Management is the worst company for an individual person, and they arbitrarily increase their rates for any private citizen that has waste management. And one of the last things I dealt with them on, because I also serve as the treasurer for the landfill, is I called them on behalf of one of my clients and said, what's gone up? Fuel prices at that time were down. This is about 2.5 years ago. Fuel prices were down, everything was down, and the landfill had just dropped the tipping fee and she made all the changes. And the lady on Waste Management says, well, the landfill fee's gone up. I said, ma'am, no, it hasn't. She goes, well, you can't know that. I said, yes, I can, because I'm the one that handles all the finances. So, I understand that.
And don't take us wrong, we agreed that we would help him out on a fuel surcharge, but then we come back and we see a 41% increase on the first bill, that put us a little pause to everything. And we wanted to know what the justification was.
Okay.
And I asked, you said a fuel surcharge? I simply asked, what's the gallons they use?
Okay.
I have no idea. Is what I got.
They calculated that last month they used approximately 2,256 gallons within the city of Vinton. At the current rate of $5.64 a gallon, that's $12,723.84. Okay? If you took that same price and applied it for when this contract, same number of gallons for when the contract first started, it would be $7,128, for a difference of $5,605, or $5,607. If you divide that out, you end up with about a 20% fuel surcharge. It's like 19.94. If you just paid for what the fuel difference is between when the contract started and what it was today.
318 to 502, right?
Well, it was 564.
Okay, 564.
And if you divide the 5607 by the 2,227 households that will go, it's $2.52 per household is an increase. And if you divided that out, it's right at 20%.
If I looked at the 2,500 gallons they said he used for the city of Vinton for the month, right? I took the difference between 318 and 560, multiplied that difference out toward the gallons used, that's $6,396. That's what he came asking for. That's how he presented it to us.
Okay. Well, we've presented 3 different offers and we've received nothing back from the city other than bring us more information.
Well,
The city has not given us a number that says, well, we think it should be this, or we think we should use this base rate, or we think we should use this formula. So that's why I'm standing here today. I've given you some options, I've given you some formulas. This is the 3rd different formula I put on the table that I've provided to Josh to give to you guys. So I need some feedback from the city as to what you guys are thinking, what you want.
What was missing for the gallons used?
What was missing was the usage, exclusive to Vinton.
Yep.
That was what was the missing key for us.
And now you've provided that. Sounds like we're using about 2,500 gallons a month. Right?
Well, we're using about 2,200 gallon a month, and we're using, another 100 or so gallon a month for the DEF and all of that, so.
That's why I rounded up to 2,500 to
Yep.
account for all that. And that's where I go back. So we need help on the fuel costs. That's how it was presented. That's where I'm stuck. Okay?
We're all stuck.
Yeah.
So if this was a typical trucking company, which my husband used to operate and which I did all the books for, they would apply a fuel surcharge for every mile that was driven when it got over a certain number. And that number fluctuated every week. I never knew what it was, because every week we had to recalculate what the fuel surcharge was. And it was always based upon a percentage. That way you just apply the percentage to whatever the total was at the end, and that's what your bill went out for. If you wanna do it as a flat number based upon, you know, we had talked about, you know, you could do it $5 per household and just make it a flat number, and when it drops back below the number, then it goes back to the $12.65. You could do $3. I gotta know where the council's coming from.
Well, that's where we work on it. We wanted to know what was specific to Vinton.
Yep.
We
So I've
did just
given you that number.
blanket thing that says, well, everybody else is paying it, and then we find out, well, they really aren't.
And that's, you know, that's, I'm a little stuck on that still, to be honest with you. We get the numbers, how many gallons from the same person that sat there and said.
To clarify something, I said everyone I had spoken to already and redone contracts had.
No,
No, that's
Yeah.
not what you said.
Every other town.
That I had spoken with, which that is correct. Garrison
You said
didn't bat an
every other
eye.
town is doing the fuel surcharge. That's what you said.
Well, the other option is that we go to an every other week collection, and, because that would cut the fuel costs in half, and we'd be at the same position.
And you'd be in violation of the contract.
Well, there's other issues with the contract that the
Well,
city's having.
You guys signed into it though, so.
That's all got sideways when we were asking for how many gallons were used, we were gonna help out with gas, everybody was.
Well, I apologize
They're
because
all
I
gonna
sent
help.
Gage up to the one meeting because I was unavailable and I was gone.
We told him the same.
Yeah, we asked him the same thing.
And Gage wouldn't have known, because that's not his forte.
No, all we said was, hey, can you go back and get us the gallons we used? That's all we asked.
And that was not ever related.
So are we saying up here that we don't want to help with the fuel surcharge? Cause I'm not
I
feeling
wanna
that
help
way.
with fuel
over
surcharge.
here.
Oh, no, I wanna help with it.
Okay.
We need to give them a counter offer. We can't do that right now because this is a discussion item, so we're gonna have to go back and present it to them. I'm sorry, that's what it is, so.
Okay, so how many more months are we gonna drag this on? Because this started.
Let's stop there, because we asked for the fuel, the gallons used 2 months ago, and we just got them tonight.
Yeah, that's the first
So
time you've
don't
seen it.
blame us for requesting information and not getting it.
Okay,
So,
but you've also not given any counter offers or anything.
We didn't have
and-
information.
yeah, how can I do any counter offer without the information I requested? So,
So will this be on
can
the
I call you
next?
by your first name, because I can't pronounce your last name?
Jennifer,
Jennifer, we do wanna help, but we're gonna do it fair with the citizens, we're gonna help Josh the best we can, but I'm telling you, we can't do it right now until they go back and meet, because this is a discussion item on here, I can't make any decisions, I can't let them make any decisions, but yes, we will expedite it now that we have the gallons. Now they have actual data they can use to make an informed decision. That's where we're at.
so it will be on the next council agenda item for approval of something.
I'm gonna guess the committee's gonna get together and they're probably gonna have some recommendation and we'll get it on the agenda at some point here. It's either gonna be on the next one or the following one. Because they're gonna have to come back to the next meeting and make the recommendation.
We're gonna try our best, get it done ASAP, absolutely.
Yes. It will be on within the next 2 council.
We're not having any
meetings.
fun either.
Yeah, we wanna be over it with it too, so.
Anybody have any other questions?
Thank you for putting all this together.
Yes,
Yes, it is very helpful.
yes, very helpful.
What committees are gonna be?
That
Business
is-
type?
That's business type, right?
I would assume so, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
yes.
Guys wanna go ahead and set that meeting?
Yes, I do, please. So our next council is gonna be the 10th. I would like to meet before that. Riley's not here tonight.
Thursday, I will not be here.
When?
Next Thursday.
Thursday.
No, we can figure it out.
That's okay. Without you.
We'll get something sorted out.
Is that Wednesday the 2nd?
So if all the,
Can we do a Wednesday?
do you wanna do it as a committee, or do you wanna do it as a work session?
I wanna do it however it's gonna get it.
Leave it at the committee, you guys come up with it.
Alright, can you do Wednesday the 2nd? I'll email just to make sure Riley can do, probably 6 o'clock would be my guess.
We'll
100% agree with
Yes,
that.
I can imagine. And waste management is kind of paid.
No, they are.
I'll agree with that.
Pam. Got your meeting set? We good to go?
Got my meeting set, 6:10.
Moving on to new business. I did not make it.
Nope.
Now I need a motion for first consideration of ordinance 1079, an ordinance amending provisions pertaining to utility benefits. Motion by King, second by Beth. Chris, Cliff, no? Nothing?
To the agenda.
Yep, you can jump in.
Ted and I took the, things we discussed at the work session with the changes, from the legislative approvals July 1. Eric in Doug's office reviewed it, Alice has looked at it as well, and this is yes, thank you.
Anybody have any questions on it?
This all fits in with what they just passed of the state legislature, and it's not more restrictive than the state, correct?
Correct.
One question for you. Is there an inspection fee on there, a safety inspection fee?
It's an optional. A person desiring a safety inspection of their utility vehicle can schedule one with the police department for $25.
And then are turn signals and mirrors required?
Yes.
Yes.
Horn, rear view mirror, turn
Okay.
signals, muffler, prevent excessive or unusual noise and annoying smoke. No person shall use a muffler, cutout, bypass, or similar device upon a motor vehicle on highway.
Technically, it is more restricted than the state.
Yes, it is.
But we can be more
You
restrictive.
Correct.
definitely can be.
Oh,
Sorry,
and
which part is more restrictive?
Turn signals, for
turn
example.
signals.
I wasn't listening too close, but that's one the state doesn't require.
Rear view mirror,
You have to have a mirror.
Center
The
or
state does
side.
require at least a mirror, as I recall, but it
Yes.
could be a center or a side, just one.
rear view just means you gotta get a view of the rear.
Yep.
And the horn is new, right?
That's required.
That's required in the state.
Turn signal would be that.
Yep.
That's the only one that jumps out at me.
Our 218 and C Avenue, are they in play now as far as being able to drive on them as long as you follow the under 35-mile-an-hour speed limit that the state requires?
Any operator of a utility vehicle must be 18 years old, operating all passengers wear seatbelts. Maximum of 35 miles per hour on city streets, county highways, and state highways where the speed limit is 35 miles per hour or greater.
Must be over the most directly accessible route.
Yes.
Is the extra part in ours, in this proposed one. Do most, I don't know, UTVs, do they have turn signals, or is that someone?
Mine does.
You usually have to add them.
See, a lot of them were add-ons. A lot of cities who had UTV, ATV ordinances required turn signals, and there were aftermarket kits a lot of people would buy and put on. And a lot of those also include the horn, so I think a lot of people are gonna have those.
Yes.
So the horn is not an add-on, but the horn is state, or we added,
well,
we added in ours.
State requires it.
State requires it, but I think the newer UTVs probably have horns.
They don't.
They don't yet?
No,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I know, I put an aftermarket turn signal kit in mine, and that's where the horn is, with
Yeah.
the turn signals.
Is this worth?
That's a
I
good
think this is
question.
the turn signal one that I, like, and stuff, and then everybody sticking their arm out the window, cause that's.
I don't like to go more restricted than the state, that's where I'm at.
Turn signals are definitely a very good safety item. I'll tell you that much.
What's that?
They're a very good safety
Oh, yeah,
item.
I agree.
If you're going to be driving on city streets, cars are required to signal. You'd certainly want a UTV to signal as well, because they're going to be treated like
State
cars.
didn't require that, honestly.
I bet they're going to before
They,
too
they might edit
I
that.
talked to one of the guys who really was pushing the legislation, and he said there will be more changes for the next couple of years. Yeah.
I say we get it in here.
I was just thinking, I'm not gonna vote no on it, that's just my comment. I don't
State's
like to
gonna
be
follow
more
us.
restrictive. The state's gonna follow us.
That's right, we're gonna blaze the trail for others to follow.
Some cities require it.
That's just what we do. All right. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Cassinius? Stark?
Yes.
Elwood?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Beerbauer?
Val?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, moving on to item B. Need a motion to approve a resolution to approve transfer of funds from the general fund to the library fund.
Motion?
Motion by Tammy, second by Ron. Orderly draw. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Beerbauer,
Yes.
Elwick,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Messinius,
Yeah.
Stark,
Yes.
Alright. Moving on. Item C, approval of resolution to approve disbursement of hotel motel tax proceeds to the Vinton Unlimited.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Andrew, second by Tammy. Quarterly disbursement again? Andrew?
Quarter,
Oh, for the hotel
I thought it
motel?
was quarter. Alright. Roll call, please.
Gates, Messinius, Beerbauer,
Yeah.
Elwick,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Alright, now I need a motion to approval of quote for West D Street sewer repairs.
Motion?
Motion by Tammy, second by Bethany.
Technically, it's a street repair, but I guess I'm paying for it anyway. So. Yeah, it brought to my attention the street settled down, and I had road rooter come in. They said the sewer had settled there too. It wasn't broke, so we're just going to have them dig down, level up the sewer, repack it, and repack the street, and then re-pour it. So it's
And at first,
smooth.
we had two bids, Craig, and we still have two bids, but, they weren't exactly apples to apples comparisons, so, it'd be a faux pas not to bring it in front of council with it being two different links and everything else, so. We had them go back and rebid, and this is what's going on.
And let Brett know before you go tear up the street again.
Please, maybe go in from the other side.
And the city is going to pay for the material ourselves, so it'll be cheaper that way. So one company backed out after they heard that I was going to do it that way.
Yeah, because they don't get to mark up stuff.
Right.
But they got, actually, I thought your haul rate was pretty cheap, believe it or not. So. Alright. I think you're gonna let Brett know, right?
I will.
Good, man.
Alrighty.
Good, I know it's past that.
I thought he was here.
He was, and then left.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call.
Elwick,
Yes.
Messinius, Stark,
Yes.
Gates, Beerbauer,
Yes.
Alrighty. Moving on, I need a motion to approval of goal setting session proposal from Callahan Municipal Consultants.
Motion?
Motion by Tammy, second by Bethany.
It's quite the proposal.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Very well.
You asked for one.
It's very, very full.
You asked for one, Mr. Mayor, correct?
I did.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be a one pager, but it wasn't. Good old Pat. I should've known better. Was all everybody think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as pointed out, we still have the funds from the last time we did, so.
Yes, please.
Okay. I got a motion in a second? I did.
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Beerbauer,
Yep.
Stark,
Yes.
Elwick,
Yep.
Yes.
Messinius,
Huh? I heard more.
Gates, yes, you're rolling over.
Alright, now I need a motion of approval of street closure request for PPRD Fall Festival on November 5th.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Bethany. Any questions? It's a party.
It'll be fun.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Lovely. Now I need a motion. Thank you. Now I need a motion for approval of parade route request for holiday lighted parade November 17th, 2022. You're finally up. Motion by Bethany, seconded by Tammy. Now you can come on up.
That's on my birthday, might as well.
This is Dennis Miller. He's, AMVET's commander for the state of Iowa. And I'm Ron Geiger from Vinton. I'm also with the Veterans of Foreign War. Our parade is requested through you fellows and ladies sprinkling your holy water on it and says, yes, we'll go with it. That's what I need, is your okay. Because we're gonna have it gone on the night of the 17th, about 5:30 p.m., line up, and it'll start at 6. And we've tried doing everything to make everybody happy, and we haven't had no problems yet, as stands.
Yeah, I'm gonna come get notes from you how you're doing that.
I'm hiding, 'cause I know you're coming.
Perfect. Great thing. So,
I love the holiday parade.
yep, it is. Anybody got any issues, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, and thank you for protecting the freedoms that I have to go out and do the things I do.
Thank you.
I appreciate that,
sir.
So, you as well.
We'll have to have a police escort this year. Last year that got,
I'll get them all out there if we have to.
We will have that.
We waited last year, and we never did get them, so I just went ahead and started up.
You'll get one this year, we already had the stuff filled out, so the police are aware.
Okay, that's great.
We'll get you taken care of.
Thank you for.
Thank you very much. So,
I got a Grinch costume, I'll drive in that Cadillac in it.
Okay, well, you got a lot of money, go for it.
all right.
Have a good one.
Now I need a motion, council, oh, sorry, this is just a council review of plat survey for parcel A, park of block 10, Griffin's Addition.
Do you need a motion, right?
Do I need a motion?
Well, to recommend that P and Z. Okay, P and Z handles it.
Okay, got a motion by Ron,
Just send it to P and Z.
seconded by Bethany.
This is,
Plat of survey.
Tim at Rankin's house over on, is it 16, 15?
Yeah, the next door neighbor is wanting to buy a portion of it so he can expand his business. I think it's cool.
Coops on 13.
Mm-hmm.
There's a map in your packet somewhere.
yeah,
And this is to send it to P and Z to review, and then have their recommendation come back. That's it.
Okay. So when you send that to P and Z, please have a copy of the comprehensive plan with it. And the letter from Doug. I would appreciate all of that, so,
Yeah, I heard a motion and a second.
yeah, they got it.
I did that.
Yeah, we did.
You voted?
I did
No.
not vote.
No.
We haven't voted yet,
Okay.
so, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? None.
yes, they did. They approved it.
All right, now I need a motion approval of sidewalk reimbursement for 1106 First Avenue.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Tam, second by Andrew. Any questions?
good work.
They did, they're all right to do that, so they all got approved.
There's a bill, but there's no, I mean, we don't have any stipulations on what contractors, anybody can go.
No, we
In
don't.
town, out of town, all that.
Not for sidewalk.
I got a question for you.
Not up there by Bill Martin, I think that's.
Does city provide ADA ramps if your sidewalk, if you replace your sidewalk?
Yes, we do.
Like, do you do the ADA or does the contractor have to do the
We
ADA?
provide you
We
the
provide
panels,
panels,
and you guys have to do the ADA.
Okay.
but yes, we provide those.
And Scott inspects them.
Yeah,
Scott Meyer inspects
gotta make sure they get inspected before you pour them.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't wanna tear it out if you don't have to.
Because then it's on you, we don't want to get
Yeah,
it
pour all
twice.
that
Some
concrete
do
till
twice.
somebody inspects.
Any questions? All those in favor? All right, now I need a motion for the mayoral appointment of Michelle Elgin and Dave Vermo to the VGH board. Motion by Ron, second by Bethany. Any questions? All those in favor? Fantastic. Thank you for that. Now, we're gonna have to set a date for our second council meeting in November, which is again falling on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was on Thursday, so. typically,
We usually do Tuesday, but Andrew is tired.
yeah, 'cause we didn't want to do Wednesday, cause Andrew goes out to,
We all do,
Wednesday is,
sorry.
it's just
isn't
you
that
that
when
doesn't.
everyone goes? Wednesday
We all
is
do.
Ultra
They got the Ultra Lounge.
Nothing else.
Have it out there?
Yeah, wow. I don't even drink and I do that.
Still maybe tomorrow.
So Tuesday, the 22nd, oh, no, sorry.
Monday?
Monday the
The
21st.
21st?
Which way does not interfere with yours?
21st.
Polling?
Tuesday is.
So, alright, let's do the Monday then. Let's get it done. No?
What is it we're doing again?
We're changing the council meeting date.
Oh,
Catch up.
I thought we were having a little word session, we can do it early, it's not a big deal, but yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, Monday.
Alright. Monday, 7 PM on whatever date that is.
November 21st, November 21.
And somebody better invite Bethany out to the Ultra Lounge for reports, Chris.
Just two things, upcoming meetings I have, one, budget workshop with the Iowa League of Cities to find out our tax rates and actually what our rollback numbers are and everything else, so I'll be at that, it'll be in North Liberty on Thursday. And then, Monday, I believe, Mr. Mayor, you and I have a meeting here at 9 AM on Monday, this upcoming Monday,
Yes.
remember?
No. Which one?
Congresswoman Hinson.
Oh, yeah.
I need to send you.
headlights right
I should have would have set it up.
I know, you.
Huh?
That's all I had.
Just because I don't know, does this need to go back?
No, you can have it. I bought them at LaGrange's. They were like $5, so have it. Put music on it, play it in your Cadillac. So
I'll get it back to you.
I don't care.
God knows what he's gonna put on.
That's right.
I'm certainly gonna write it off this year. So
Alright. Who we all got over there? What do you got for me today?
Love my pay grade.
Nothing? Nothing? That the safety of the citizens of Vinton are well within your hands?
Yep.
Thank you.
I had one question, I was gonna bring it up during the okay, and, stop sticks, what are they called? You guys got some stop sticks?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever used stop sticks?
In training.
In town?
In
No.
town.
There's been plenty of times where it's came close to having to use them,
But never have used.
I have not, no, I don't know if
He just ends up ramming the car instead.
Alright.
He's gonna leave and go that way tonight.
Wait, so you wanna go test?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah,
I'm just
the steps.
trying to remember the last time I heard about a chase where we used stop sticks. Just talking about that.
I don't remember any.
So,
Out of town.
we got new ones. I know we're replacing this one.
You ran out?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe they dull over time?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
outside of town.
No, they said they bought new ones, so they don't have the old ones. Alrighty, Matt.
Not much. We had Fall Fest kickoff last week with the Bags tournament. It was a good time. Finished up football this last weekend. We've got the Halloween carnival and trick-or-treating parade downtown on Saturday, so it looks like we got good weather for that. So I think last year we had like 250 kids out for that, so hopefully we'll get another big crew of folks. And then I need to figure out, Chris, I don't know if you responded to my email today about Baker and their retainage and who wants to have that conversation.
Okay, I
Apparently
guess you and
the
I will have
engineers
that
don't.
conversation about that.
Yeah, so, that's all I got.
No, and last night we were on a Zoom call about something.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, visioning, yeah, community visioning, so we've got a whole group of us, Mayor, Melissa, myself, a few people from our Park and Rec board, a couple of folks from
We were chosen as one of 8 small rural towns in Iowa to participate in community visioning with Iowa State, and so we get the help of landscape architecture students and interns and folks from Iowa State and Trees for Forever to help us with a handful of visioning projects in town. So they do all the expensive renderings, wayfinding information, all that sort of stuff, and I think we get it for a couple $1,000. So
The only thing that I ask is that they figure out how to use Zoom.
oh my God, that
Before they
was
start
just brutal. And then we stared up the facilitator's nose for half. I was like, what are we doing here?
Oh my God.
Good God. And then the IT guy that they had on to break us out into breakout groups couldn't figure out how to do it. And it's like, dude, you have one damn job. You can't figure out how to do that?
And he sat there and kept talking himself up the entire time.
He did. Oh
Yeah,
man,
it's
the worst.
You get around the pickleball courts, the surface, you're having.
I talked to Dan Schreiber about it, and he and I are supposed to have a meeting in the next week or so. He left to go on vacation after he finished a big project in Cedar Rapids. We have a little bit of a misunderstanding about when I want the courts to be diamond grinded down. He wanted to wait till the spring, and I don't want to, so we'll just have to see. I mean,
We're talking about the bubble and the.
Correct.
Okay.
So they're gonna have to. The only correct way to do it is to diamond grind all that surface off. That's the only way it'll come off. It's been done and can be done.
Is he gonna be able to recode it though, this year?
Next year? Yes.
I would be a little hesitant about grinding it off this year though.
Well, and the only reason why I wanted to do it this year was just so that we could get more cure on that bare concrete surface, but if we're not gonna get
How porous it's gonna make it once he grinds it off.
if we're not gonna get any more cure out of it, then we can wait to. I don't have a problem with it.
It's a chemical reaction, it won't matter.
So that's fine. I'll tell them we can wait till spring. I don't have a problem with it. And then I'm getting bids in on playground tomorrow. So bids are due for the playground.
Good deal. Melissa, I'm just jumping all over tonight.
I participated in the downtown resource center visits Monday, and then again the final presentation yesterday at the golf course, and it was really interesting. They had some great compliments. There's definitely some things we can improve. I think on the city side and on the economic development side, there's room for growth in both spots. They'll have their full report in 4 to 6 weeks, and we can talk about it a little bit more. I think even when we get to our visioning session with Pat, so, yeah. They really liked our business improvement grant that we offered. So, I was excited.
Okay.
We're about to expire, bud.
Oh, I know.
Come on.
We didn't make 8, so I'm gonna hold drag it on. Doug, you got anything?
Yeah, nothing for you.
Craig, I'm saving the best for last there, man.
Thank you. Keep it under 15 minutes, I promise. We got our first antenna up for the collector system for the reading the water and electric. So we're kind of waiting now on, I think Kevin got it set up that takes about 2 or 3 weeks for them to do their end, and they're gonna have to show up here and deal with the ladies in there and train them, and so it'll be another month at least, I would imagine, before we can actually try the one, see how it's gonna go. We got the bracket for the other tower, so I'll probably try to get it up sometime here in the next, or the temperatures are decent, so still trying to GPS when we don't have other things going on with contractors and stuff breaking. Just about done hauling sludge. We're down to the floor, and so hopefully we can get that finished up tomorrow and
That's important.
get all the rags out and start filling up next week. And our new employee starts November 1st, so that'd be next Tuesday. So we'll be back to full staff, I guess. So after a month of training, I guess, but, yeah. We'll have another body if we need them, so that's good. Good deal.
Yes, you will.
Yep. Should be it.
Okay. So I got an email from Mr. Wilden about the,
Yes.
out of the sewer. I got a little Nate, asked him how much it would cost for us to run a sewer out last there. All sorts of issues sort of came up.
Oh, yes. Nate and I talked about that extensively yesterday.
So I will forward the email to everybody so you can see what, and I'm gonna send it to Matt too.
Yeah.
It seems to be, in a nutshell, the thing was never platted to have sewer out there. So we did everything to the developer's agreement that we were responsible for.
And that was it.
And we can't even go out and extend it out because it's private property.
Right.
He's gonna have to do it himself to get to the main.
And that's what Nate and I.
That's a nutshell of it.
Which is within the 200 foot.
Yeah. But even us going out to lay the gravel out there is going on to private
That's
property.
private property. It has to be dedicated to us.
That is what Nate found out, and that was my big report for that. But I will find that email and get it out to everybody and so you guys can review it. So I'll get it to Matt as well. So, other than that, I have nothing else. Good and welfare? Come on, something.
Sorry about Riley's grandmother.
That's not good and welfare, that's welfare.
That's what.
Trick or treating is Monday
Downtown
from
trick or
5 to 8.
Trick or treating is Monday.
The weather's gonna be beautiful.
3 hours this year.
That's 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 whole hours. I'm trying to
buy
get
more
kids
kids
too.
Yes, you have to take this home.
So apparently,
Your
the
neighborhood's
Maynard
crazy.
girls are doing adult treats and everything else.
What time?
I assume as soon as you guys show up, they don't care.
Okay.
Something about Jello and, you know, shots.
Oh, I love Sheldon.
Anyhow, they look forward to it, they love Halloween. Oh, the pancake breakfast was a great success, enjoyed that, appreciate firemen doing that. I don't
Over 800
notice that
people
you
showed
spit
up,
anything
so-
into my food, I appreciate that as well.
What you don't know won't hurt you.
That's right.
Order herb later.
All right, seeing nothing else, I need a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Before the first hour of the ball game, they made
Who has the other?
2,000 Jello shots.
Oh, we can stay here all night. Second by Tammy. All those in favor?
I mean, it'll be, you know what I mean? 4 weeks.
And
Recorder's office will have it.
Of all things, is that on the
He's probably gonna ask for some specifics, but I still have it. She's got all the land. And left are both really good at it. If you just go in there,
Yeah, we'll do that.
they'll be happy.
Take care.
The way he said it,
Get that shot back going.
He was very scared.
Yeah, why?
Absolutely.